Thunder. It's gonna rain! Hello everyone, Scrivener here. I'm currently working on a longer scripted video. It's taking a little bit more time than I thought it would. It's the story of my creative life. In the meantime, I wanted to give myself a little bit more time and also post something that was kind of low-key. So on Twitter and Instagram, I asked if people would rather see a Q&A video or a book tag video, and a Q&A won, which is exciting because we've wanted to do Q&As in the past, but we've never really had the viewership for anybody to actually ask questions. So this is great. Are you and Paige a couple? We're a couple of sisters. We're not. We are tragically both bisexual but not attracted to each other. Quite frankly, we do not get this question nearly as often as we both feel like we should be getting it. We're offended, just so you know. What, in your opinion, are some of the worst movies ever? The Last Airbender, The Love Guru, Daredevil. If you could live in any world that Disney has created, what would it be? If we're talking movies, Treasure Planet, because it's a very cool world and there are spaceships in space. Yes, but if we're talking anything they've ever created, I will be living in the Magic Kingdom. Thank you very much. I will stay in the Cinderella suite in Cinderella's castle and watch the fireworks, and I will just eat Casey's corn dogs, and I'll go on nighttime rides on the Jungle Cruise. I've thought way too much about this. Have you written any fan fiction? And if so, for what fandom? Yes, I have. I really wrote fan fiction mostly in high school. I mostly wrote Doctor Who fan fiction, River and Eleven Forever, and I also mostly wrote John Locke fanfiction. Yeah. When I was in 7th grade, we also passed around a composition notebook where we wrote ourselves as characters from the Avatar universe, but it was really just like middle school, but with bending. It was very, very bad. When did you two first meet? We met in college. Our freshman year, we were kind of friends with each other. We were in the same creative writing class and we both liked Disney, but it wasn't until the next year that we really became best friends and went on our first Disney trip together. And then later on, we were roommates. Oh my God, they were roommates. Any channel recommendations like your channel? Okay, so Lindsay Ellis, Just Right, Lessons from the Screenplay, and Movies with Mikey all do video, essay, film analysis type of stuff. Cracked. They stopped making videos, unfortunately, but their old stuff is still very, very good, especially Pop Culture Disorder and After Hours. Then for a couple of other people who also do really clever, fun content that we like, especially media stuff, include Evelyn from the Internets, Practical Folks, and our friend Annie Elaney. Have you read any of the Percy Jackson novels? Yes! Yes, I love them. I'm behind right now on Heroes of Olympus. I'm so behind because the books are so long. I studied Latin in high school and I've always been really interested in Greek mythology, so I was just very, very into it. Also, they have ADHD, so yes. What is your view on frogs? If you could answer, please do. This is important to me. Well, Kareen, I think frogs are nice. They are cute, as long as they don't jump on me, because then I will freak out. What made you and the princess start making YouTube videos? We would have these really late night conversations about intersectionality and Disney specifically, because at the time that we were in college, pop feminism was really starting to get very, very popular. One of the very common things that we kept seeing was like, Disney princesses are terrible role models. Everything in Disney is really bad for women, super unfeminist. And we were like, I mean, some things are, but like, so is everything that's ever been made. And you're also ignoring some aspects of it that can be really empowering and nice and like good representation. And we always started the channel with the understanding that we wouldn't be restricted to Disney because we wanted to talk about pop culture in general. But it was born out of a love for Disney, especially because the Disney fandom can be very, very protective. You watch Disney movies in your childhood and they form who you are, and so when you critique any aspect of that, people get very defensive. And so one of the things we try and do with this channel is just try and coax people out of that. Do you like Brooklyn NineNine? I am Jake Peralta. I love Brooklyn NineNine so much. I also say that recognizing that there are areas of its representation that are incredibly lacking. Asian representation is really lacking on the show. There's a lot of fat-phobic jokes, and especially in the most recent season, like really predatory jokes with Hitchcock, and I don't know why those are there. They haven't done that before and I don't like it, but the Pontiac Bandit and the Halloween episodes are like my favorite things. I love the Pontiac Bandit. I love him so much. I am Jake very, very much because I too am a leather jacket but also hoodie bisexual who uses humor to deflect from uncomfortable emotions and also is very impulsive. And I think another reason in which like I definitely am Jake Peralta is that I want to be Rosa, but we're just not. I love Brooklyn NineNine. It's one of my favorite shows. What's your most embarrassing moment? So my first year of high school, I'm in like the media center library area, and I print like a 50-page document for class. And right as I get to the printer, this really cute girl also gets to the printer at the same time. And my 50-page document has obviously beat her order to the printer. And so we just stand there watching my document print. And she's just looking at me with this expression that very clearly states, I had 1 page to print, you motherfucker. I had never blushed before in my entire life, but I felt it. It felt like fire had engulfed my face. It was very embarrassing. It was also a pretty good indication that I was bi, but you know, whatever. Hindsight is key. Do you still watch Steven Universe? I don't. Paige and I stopped watching a while ago. We stopped watching around Bismuth. The schedule just got really inconsistent for us and we lost interest. Paige and I haven't talked about it in a while, but I know personally I started to get a really different tone from the show. It made me a little uncomfortable. That's to say nothing against anybody who still is watching it. I am not. And I'm sorry. I know we made like 3 videos about it. How did you meet your girlfriend? So we met on Twitter. We met several years ago on Twitter and started following each other. And then within the last like year and a half, we actually started talking, even though we'd been following each other for like 3 years. And one of the reasons that I noticed her again was because she made this thread about how Beauty and the Beast isn't really a story of bestiality, which of course Paige and I agree with, but you can really look at it much more clearly as like a metaphor for disfigurement. That was a really fascinating take on one of my favorite movies that I had never seen before. So I started talking to her about it, and then we started talking more and more, and then we fell in love, and yes. I love my girlfriend. Having a public relationship can be hard and tricky sometimes. Why did you decide to be public with yours? My girlfriend and I are pretty public about our relationship on Twitter especially. She just has a bigger following on Twitter. Like that's where she does most of her work. At first I was kind of uncomfortable because I didn't really want to post pictures of our relationship. I felt like it might be bragging or showing off, but it was the fact that it obviously meant so much to my girlfriend and I had seen so much positive growth from her and satisfaction from posting about her relationship, as well as, you know, her journey with gender identity and her body, and seeing how good that made her feel made me a lot more willing to try it. Something that I really like about posting pictures, whenever we do, we always get lots of comments that say, this made me really happy, this really brightened my whole day. I don't feel like I'm obligated to put my relationship out online for people to consume. I don't mind sharing certain parts of it. Just remember that for any couple that you see online who has an online presence, you are not seeing everything. How do I get books even though I don't have much money? The library. If you live near a library, I promise you there are books there that you will want to read. You just gotta go. And even if you can't get out of the house and into a library, your library probably has a digital library, like with downloadable ebooks and audiobooks, and I get so many audiobooks for free through my library. Use your library. You're not always gonna get the books that have just come out or the ones you want really right this minute, but the library is gonna save you tons of money. What is the most important reason to analyze film and pop culture? Media and pop culture has the power to not just confirm biases that society has thrust upon you about other people or other cultures or ideas in general, it also has the potential to place those ideas in your mind when you have not interacted with them in any other way. So that's like schema theory. That's why it's important not to make bad stuff. That's why it's important to do your research and to involve the people you're talking about, because otherwise you can do real damage. And the big problem is that people already think that movies don't matter, that they're just stories. But stories shape us whether we like it or not. And that's why it's important to talk about them critically. What is your favorite animated TV series? It's a tie between Gravity Falls and Avatar: The Last Airbender. Both of them are incredibly well animated shows with interesting worlds and characters, and they tell a cohesive and complete narrative while also leaving enough questions for people to be still interested in the characters even after the show has ended. They're great shows. So good! They're not flawless, but they're good! What inspired the epithet Scrivener? Paige always knew that she wanted her name to be Princess because that's how she thinks of herself. It works out pretty well because it's Princess Paige. They both start with the same letter. And so we were like, we've got to come up with an S-type title that kind of fits a medieval theme for me, and that was a little more difficult. We didn't really like Scribe, we didn't really like Squire. The Princess and the Scribe didn't have a good rhythm, but also because like Paige and I are both writers, like Scribe wasn't really enough to differentiate me. And then we found the word Scrivener, and we liked how it sounded together, Princess and the Scrivener. Our names line up with the initials, and also they fit our personalities relatively. If you were a type of fruit, what kind would you be? Pineapple. And that about does it, guys. There goes my phone. I know I didn't get to answer all of your questions, but I still hope that you enjoyed the answers that I did give you. Thank you so much for joining me. You will be getting an analytical Disney video from me very soon. I know it's been a little while since we did Disney on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and leave us a comment below. Ring that bell to get notifications for new videos, especially since we are not really following our Wednesday every week schedule. We are being a little more lax. And if you're not already subscribed, please do so down below, especially if you would like more videos on Disney, intersectional feminism, pop culture critiques, and more! One of us will see you real soon.